the salesperson was so motivated by getting it into the end of the quarter, he ended up giving us 30% off on an entire ticket, which is a big dollar amount, if we were willing to sign the contract by the end of the month, which was also the end of the quarter. And this is obviously a commissioned salesperson as well. And so even the great companies that I think Salesforce, one of the first biggest successes in software as a service, really I said, gosh, they are not only did I not get value, did I not get my questions answered by this commissioned salesperson, I had to go to their tech guy to get the real answers, but he actually cost them 30% of what I was willing to pay. And if he knew that our internal system was losing our customer data, our homegrown system was losing our customer data, and he helped me do the math, which I already knew what the math was on it, but he walked through that conversation with me to say, how much is it costing you to lose your customer data? I would have paid twice as much, not 30% less. So being keen and aware of that, I was forced to do it, and my partners and my companies have been forced to look at, is a dollar of value, is spending this dollar going to get us a dollar value, and are the dollars that we're already spending returning the value too? The other commonality in the startups, the technology startups, I think you need to have, heavy software startups, I think you need to have a technology partner who's willing to work for sweat equity. And you got to, it's hard because you want to make sure you pick your partners like you would pick a spouse. But I think in a lot of in the technology businesses, yeah, I could see how people would need to go raise money to get the technology built if one of the partners wasn't building it themselves, because there's a lot that goes into that. The second thing that we discovered as we were growing these companies for the companies that are already off the ground and have revenues is finding your core customer. And I have a couple examples of that. Most companies that I've been involved with that are being funded are trying to go big fast. And there's a lot of reasons for it, such as competitors will get there first, and we can really capture the whole market. So they throw a wide net. Now, bootstrapped entrepreneurs should throw a wide net as well, just to get started. An example would be Snap Engage. So they were a Techstars company. They developed and designed a product. They had a whole beta user group, and lo and behold, people weren't willing to pay for it, and the investors weren't willing to give them money to fund them for this idea that they had developed at Techstars. When they came out of Techstars and they couldn't raise the money, they started asking their beta customers, what is it that you would want to pay for? And a couple of people mentioned, actually it's probably one to start with, mentioned, we would like a way to do live chat that's integrated, integrated with Skype and Google Chat. So on our site we'll have live chat, and we're already using, our developers and our customer service people who are doing email are already using Skype to communicate with each other, and this would be great if this was integrated in it. They came out with that, no one else was offering it, and sure enough, another customer, customers started flowing in. And this very entry-level product that took them literally a week to cobble together. They then, a similar model, started growing their customer base, their revenues, and hired only when they could afford to hire another person based on those revenues. No outside investment at all. And so, fast forward 2 years later, or a year and a half later, and now they've got a couple thousand customers. And we're looking at who the customers are, and they're all over the place. You got people coming in on the free plan, and the $9 plan, and the $19 plan, and the $49, and then you've got these enterprise level customers who have 50 agents on the system who are paying them, $1,000 a month. The interesting thing that happened though is when we looked at it, we saw that the customers who were coming in on the entry level, because over the course of the year and a half, they're adding more features and making it more robust. And what they found was that they were attracting the customers who wanted more of an enterprise level product, who had a support team that wanted to be able to use, have a dozen agents working on it, like Airbnb, for example, and or Edmunds.com, and so we started looking at who was their core customer, who is the customer that's willing to pay the most and get the most value out of the product, and who are the happiest. And believe it or not, the ones that were the least happy were the entry-level customers. They'd come in, they'd have a lot of challenges because they didn't have technical resources. We'd help them out. They'd come in, they realized they didn't have enough traffic on their site, and they'd cancel their monthly subscription 3 months later. Well, those accounts accounted for a large chunk of business, but were sort of, and we're bringing in more and more in every day. So when we looked at it, we decided to discontinue the lower price plans and focus and communicate on the website that we're an enterprise level software. So the lowest plan being $49 a month. Lo and behold, our trial rate went in half, but our additional revenues that came in went up. The incremental revenues went up because we were able to attract more of the core customer and a lot less of the customers who were taking up a lot of time, a lot of resources, and accounting for a lot of, a big number of customers. So the idea of being able to focus in on your core customers really makes a difference. And it's not always the biggest customers. We found that the customers like the American Expresses and the IBMs and the customers that come in and say, we want you to do an RFP and a big to do and lots of negotiating and all that, were actually our worst customers. They took the most amount of development resources. They really weren't, from a revenue standpoint, significant enough. And so in Reg Online's business, we decided that we weren't doing any more customizations. And so you can lop off both ends, but the idea of getting to the sweet spot of who your core customers are. And I see it in everyday businesses all the time. Anyone here know Black Hat in town? The restaurant? It's a restaurant that you go in and you can't have less than a 3-hour dinner. But they realized that they had an a la carte menu for a while with a 7-course and a 10-course meal that you could also get with wine pairings and all that. But what they did was realize their core was special events. People coming in for anniversaries, for special occasions, birthdays, and that those people really wanted to just be tailored and taken care of. And so what they did was they really minimized to just the very bottom of the menu, the a la carte options, and made the center point the 7-course, 10-course fixed price menus. And within a month, their revenues went up by 30% without changing a single item of food on the product. So there's something that's to be said about knowing your core and creating a packaging around it as well from a pricing standpoint that can really be learned. Another example, Sticker Giant had a similar scenario. We had these specials that we would run stickers for $80. You'd get 250 stickers, and it accounted for about half of the number of orders that came in. But it only accounted for, I think, 15 or 20% of the actual revenues. And on top of that, they're some of the they're hard customers. They didn't didn't have repeat orders, and we made a decision. Let's cut that out and focus on the people who really have a need for a slip. I think it was $150 minimum order, and so we were able to increase our revenues while cutting the workload in half in terms of the number of people we were having to serve, which made the organization incredibly efficient, more profitable, and the best part of being able to know your core and serve a little bit a step up from an entry-level market is that we can spend more time being even more valuable to the people who are going to be good long-term customers that they're going to be happy paying a higher price and see a lot more value in it.